Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, I'm delighted to welcome you to the British residence this evening, and in particular delighted to be joined by the First Minister of Wales, Carwyn Jones, who is generously hosting us tonight. This is our last ministerial meeting before the September summit, which, as you know, is just over 10 weeks away, and it's a major focus for us all. I am looking forward to the summit with particular anticipation, not just because it comes at a pivotal moment for NATO, and not just because it gives us the opportunity to strengthen the NATO alliance for the long term, and not just because it will be the single largest gathering of heads of state the United Kingdom has seen at a summit, but because it takes place in Wales, a remarkable part of the United Kingdom that is uniquely rich in culture, history, landscape, industry, and innovation, that has had an influence on world affairs out of proportion to its size, and that I have come to know personally through my Welsh wife, of course, and professionally through my first cabinet position a long time ago as Secretary of State for Wales. And I'd like to use this opportunity to surprise my fellow foreign ministers with a few facts about Wales that you might not be aware of that show why it is a preeminent location for this year's summit. First, the transatlantic bond is fundamental to NATO, so it's very fitting we are returning to the possible birthplace of the name America, which some people believe originates with Amerigo Vespucci, but actually originates, in our opinion, with a Welshman named Richard Americ. And for reasons of personal loyalty, at this point, those with a different view cause the microphone to collapse. I'll just hold it instead. For reasons of personal loyalty, if not historical evidence, I agree with the Welsh interpretation. Second, because while we grapple with instability today, Wales has more than 640 castles, more castles per square mile than any other country in the world, and that reminds us to learn the lesson of conflicts in the past. Third, because Wales makes an enormous contribution to the aerospace industry and scientific innovation, things on which our security depends. Wales was in some ways the first industrialized country in the world. It was at the origin of modern iron and steel making, of radar and the radio. Today it is home to a huge Airbus factory and to Europe's only dedicated test airspace for remotely piloted aircraft. And just a few miles from Celtic Manor, where we will hold the summit, is the family residence of Charles Stuart Rolls, co-founder of Rolls-Royce. And he was just one of the many Welsh business people, politicians, and innovators who've had a remarkable influence, despite being a minority in the United Kingdom. And some unfairly suggest in their own borders there may be 3 times more sheep than people in Wales, but the sheep are not counted in the census, even though they are an important part of the Welsh economy. And Wales is one of the small nations who have shaped Europe's history and contributed enormously to its cultural and linguistic diversity. And fourth and finally, Wales is an ideal location because we all know that at summits it is vital occasionally to leave the meeting room and talk and reflect in the outside world. At least that is what we should do more often. Wales is a place of outstanding natural beauty. It is home to 398 natural lakes and the United Kingdom's highest mountain outside Scotland. And while that mountain, Snowdon, may not exactly be Mount Everest, Wales was the birthplace of the surveyor George Everest, after whom the famous peak was named. And for those in search of any other kind of refreshment, Wales' oldest surviving pub, dating from before 1100, is to be found a few miles to the north of the summit location. So there will be something for everybody who escapes the meeting for a short time. I firmly believe there could be no better, no more fitting, no more inspiring location for this landmark summit than Wales. And I pay tribute to the Welsh Government for everything they are doing to make it possible. It's my pleasure, therefore, now to pass the floor to the First Minister, Carwyn Jones, and I hope our common desire to get to Wales as quickly as possible, to experiencing for ourselves, will give our discussions on the summit over dinner and tomorrow an additional momentum. So thank you for coming to Wales in advance, and I pass you over to the First Minister of Wales. Thank you very much indeed.